And a lot of stuff swirling around Edward Snowden again today, and a lot of stuff swirling around the so-called phony scandals. Here to break it down with us is Seton Motley, president of Less Government. Seton, welcome to the Steve Malzberg program.
It's a pleasure. Thank you very much for having me.
Well, we just played a clip of Jay Carney engaging, then disengaging on Benghazi. And, we're trying to lock these guys down, Seton. Maybe you have a strategy to tell us which one of these so-called scandals that are out there are phony and which ones are real.
Well, of course, this is we're hearing it more and more. This is right out of Alinsky's Rules for Radicals playbook. Is you just dismiss everything out of hand as ridiculous, and that's being thrown at you. And meanwhile, there's all kinds of actual phony scandals that are being leveled against us. Mm-hmm. So that's part of the deal. Look, all of these things are to varying degrees unphony. I mean, there are 4 dead guys in Benghazi. How is that phony?
And I might add, we just played, too, CNN getting the interview of one of the principals that may or may not be part of the gang that did it. They sat at a coffee shop having lattes with him.
Hasn't talked to him. And the FBI still hasn't talked to him. First of all, it's international. Why is the FBI handling this?
Right.
That's a question. So remember, the director of the FBI, Robert Mueller, was asked by Jim Jordan from Ohio, congressman in Congress, in a hearing, who's leading the investigation into the IRS scandal. He couldn't name who was leading the investigation.
Exactly, and he's the head of the FBI. Yes,
he's head of the FBI, and this is supposed to be. And Jordan rightly pointed out, this has been the #1 story in the news for a month, and you can't tell me who's leading the investigation, which means there is no investigation.
Let me parse this out with the IRS scandal. I don't think that'll go away. My fear is, despite dead Americans here, they're thinking it's too exotic, it'll be too long, that they'll play it out long enough, and Benghazi will go away.
Well, I think you're right for Obama. I think
right. Hillary,
the fear for Democrats is if Hillary's going to be the nominee in 2016, that was her bailiwick. That was her responsibility as Secretary of State. So I'm thinking the Republicans rightly should keep pressing forward on this, not just because families are owed an explanation of what happened to their lost loved ones and their hurt loved ones, but also from a crass political perspective. If she runs, she's polling way ahead of every other friggin' Democrat, and she'll be the nominee, and we have to hang this around her neck like an albatross.
Well, particularly, you're right. You're right. Coupling that with the remark, and she got away with it then, it helped to get her out when she stood up on her hind legs and said, after all this time, what difference does it make? That'll be replayed again and again and again. And in its context, it's correct. She doesn't want to get to the bottom of this with people that are dead.
Right. And the only person in jail for this is that poor Nicola, the movie maker. Chris Stevens' mother is on TV a lot now saying, I was told when my son's body landed in America that they were going to get this filmmaker, and that was the reason responsible for this. And as has been since borne out without any question, there was never any evidence that a film had. It wasn't like they had it.
Here's the outstanding question.
They never had any evidence that was the case.
Here's the outstanding question I wanted to ask you, and I think we have some closed-door testimony of one of the generals today. The shocking thing about this is the military either incapability or somebody told them not to go. We never leave people. We always make the effort to go and bring them home.
Well, there is one of the key components to people putting their lives on the line in a military setting, in a diplomatic setting, by going out to dangerous posts, even as diplomats, is the confidence you have that your brothers and sisters in arms will come and rescue you in the event of a problem. Otherwise, you cannot get anybody to put their lives on the line.
And particularly this country. That's our record. That's what it is. We pride ourselves. It's in our DNA as Americans. We don't leave anybody behind.
And unfortunately, starting with Vietnam, we did start leaving people behind. The POW MIA program and that kind of thing. Vietnam was a terrible turn on a lot of different fronts, and that is one of them where we did start leaving people behind. But yes, you cannot get people from a crass execution standpoint. You can't get people to put their lives on the line if they can't be confident that they'll go and get them. And if you recall, the congressional testimony of one of the guys from the State Department said that the military, when they were told to stand down, said to him on the phone, a military guy who I can't remember, said on the phone, "This is the first time in my life I've seen the State Department have more balls than the military."
Absolutely. Now, Seton, let me turn to another area. You are the president of Less Government. We have Ted Cruz coming on a little bit later. We talk with Rand.
Awesome.
Yep.
He's my favorite Cuban senator.
We talked with Rand Paul yesterday, and the issue is this. You got Karl Rove in one corner saying if you dare defund Obamacare, the president's going to throw the government into question, and we lose out. We'll get killed with this. That's where we are right now. What do you say?
I say you have a very unpopular law. It has been consistently unpopular since before it was passed. If Obama wants to shut down the government to preserve a very unpopular law, be my guest.
All right, here's the spin. Here's if I had Karl Rove here, and there would be mayhem if I did. He said on many occasions, though, why do this? Why are you guys not getting it? This law will be wildly unpopular. That's when we jump in and there'll be traction. Wait until it starts to go into effect.
Because that is a crass political analysis. In the meantime, people not in Karl Rove's income bracket are watching their premiums double, triple, and they can't afford to wait for that to occur.
Well, not only that, I believe once the law is in, once it's firmly established, as bad as it might be, whatever, you're not getting it out. This is the time to have the showdown.
And we have to use one of the few linchpins we have, which is the funding of the Leviathan, the nearly $4 trillion bill. Look, I was in Austin, Texas for a while when I was a musician, and I started getting into politics when I was in Austin. I've never been a huge fan of Mr. Rove. I always thought he was kind of a squish, and of course that has been since borne out.
And very overrated. I mean, I think he's decent, but he's not a genius. He's
not. Look, he won with the son of a president with the same name of a president as governor in Texas when the Reagan Revolution was hitting Texas. And I'd like to additionally point out the only reason Ann Richards was governor in the first place is because the guy she ran against, whose name I'm blanking on, was ahead by like 20 points, and then like 3 weeks before the election said the famous political line, "If rape is inevitable, relax and enjoy it."
Yeah.
So his numbers completely cratered, and Ann Richards walked into the governor's mansion. So Bush comes along and with Rove as his brain and wins the governorship in Texas, which, as you know, not really tough sledding for Republicans to win.
Particularly a Bush with the Bush family and all that behind it. Yeah. Let me turn you, Seton, to one more issue out there. We're starting to see this now, the gear up. Democrats saying today in many places they want to be bold and blatant about these town halls coming up for most representatives, that they're going to storm them. They think that's what the Tea Party did en masse. I was there. It wasn't a strategy. It was grassroots of people that really meant it.
Right. No, it was so organic and so naturally occurring and bubbling from the grassroots up, as you said, that the Democrats did not see it coming. Otherwise, they would have done what they did in subsequent town hall meetings and canceled them.
Yeah, do tell it town halls or no town halls.
Or no town halls. And if they had seen that coming and it was organized and, as they say, paid for by the Koch brothers, they would have canceled in 2009, which they obviously did not. And that was the first public sighting nationally of the Tea Party. Again, you're right. Getting rent-a-mobs to go to town hall meetings to chant slogans, by the way, which is what the McDonald's thing that just happened. The fast food workers are not fast food workers. They're rent-a-mobs from unions and stuff like that. But yeah, it's not the same thing. Once again, the left accuses us of doing what they actually do.
Absolutely.
They accuse us of being rent-a-mobs, but they're the ones doing rent-a-mobs.
Hey, Seton, thank you very much. Thanks for joining us here, as always, on the Steve Malzberg Show.
It's a great pleasure. Thank you very much. Have a great week, everybody.